Okay, so we're going to be learning the Mammar, Rani V'Simchi, also a Chanukah Mammar. Let me bring up the text. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we're learning, this is a Mammar that's based on the Haftorah of Shabbos Chanukah, which we read last Shabbos, past Shabbos. So this is a pasuk in Zechariah. It says, "Rani v'simchi." Rani is to sing, v'simchi is to be happy. Pasi, and the daughter of Zion. Gihini niva. I'm coming. Hashem is coming, and it's going to be blessing. So the Rebbe says like this: "L'havin inin rani v'simchi." What's this idea to sing and to be happy? V'gam ma inin zel haftaras Chanukah. What's this have to do with the story of Chanukah? Shmaschilim b'rani v'simchi. That we start with the verse of Rani v'simchi by from Zechariah, and really we should have started a little further from Minora Isi Bihine Minora Zav. The whole idea is we want to talk about the menorah, and a little further down and is when he starts talking about the vision of seeing the golden menorah. So we should start from there. Shebesayfer Parsha, that's at the end of the discussion of the second chapter of Zechariah. So he says it's further, it's all the way down to chapter.
It's supposed to have Torah. It's not the Parsha; it's the Haftorah, right?
Yes, it's the Haftorah of the. It means the Parsha means the subject.
Parsha for
the subject. But the idea is like this. In the Chsiv, it says like the verse says in Tehillim chapter 110, Ivdus Hashem v'simcha, 100, sorry, Ivdus Hashem v'simcha. We should serve God with joy, with happiness. Ba'il lefanav, come before and bear none with music, with singing. V'isa b'zohar, the Zohar explains that simcha b'tzafra, simcha is in the morning, or renana, singing is b'ramsha in the night. So we have to understand, ma tzafra, ma ramsha, ma simcha, ma renana. Yeah, obviously, there's a difference between morning and night, and therefore there's a difference between when you're happy in the morning and you're singing at night. So to understand all this, and back to its original question, this whole connection, what's this connection to Chanukah? So he explains like this. You even behegdim understand, min mudas zois, this that's known. Shavoides hamalachim, the service of the angels, is hirina v'zimra, is through singing. B'shira with songs and praises. Kenoidim inim perak shira, it's brought down in perak shira. Shekol haberuim imrim shira, all creations, not just the angels, all creations sing praise to God. V'chein hamalachim, so to the angels. B'chol oilam, there's different levels of angels in each world. The angels are always singing praise to God. Adrum hamalis, to the highest level. Kulam imrim shirais v'shishbrachais v'rina v'zimra. All are saying, singing songs and praise in the musical form towards Hashem.
Angels in every kind of creation sings, like in words, or what kind of singing?
There's different types of singing. Sometimes it is in words, like it says Kaddish, 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 right? The angels say Kaddish, Kaddish, Kaddish. So the sing words, it's words and with praises.
Sing in Hebrew, the angels. What? The angels sing Hebrew, huh?
Lashon HaKodesh, yeah. V'inyan rina zu. What is this? What is this singing? What does it mean to sing for the angels? So he says, "He gili oitzem chukasam." Here the Rebbe defines what real music is. It's a revelation of the depth of their desire, lios nichsefa, to be included, v'gam kolsa navsham, that their souls, everything has a soul. The angel also has a soul. We spoke about this before. That their soul should be totally inclusive, the dafkabai, to cleave yisbarach to God. Well, he iskalel, and to be included ba'orin seif baruch hu. V'tamid, and constantly, meaning to say it's you're singing towards something that you don't have. They want to be even more connected and davik and cleaving to God, and they're filling the distance, and because of that distance, they have a desire and they sing towards Hashem. V'tamid, the Alter Rebbe says constantly, Kol Yemeim, all the days that they exist. Aimdim b'chukasa zubali hefsek. The angels, because they're consistent, it never dies out. They have constantly this desire to without any stopping. Hefsek. Machmas, why? She'ein lam abu chukasa mecheres. They don't struggle with anything else. So they don't have anything to be chaylef with. We say a person always loves something, but you're changing. But by them they have no other love, which would cause them acheres. They have no other desire. There's nothing else for them to do. Kamai Torah mitzvahs, like they have jobs, they have to do Torah mitzvahs. Sheheim bechinas hamshachim l'mayla l'mata, which the idea of Torah mitzvahs is that they're focusing, bringing godliness down to this world. Torah is to bring the godliness down to this world. When we do a mitzvah, we're bringing godliness down to this world. So that could kind of distract them in their desire to be included in God, because you're busy doing something. But they don't have all that. Rak avedasam their whole avoda is, he shtoikikus nafsha mimata l'mayla, this desire from below above, uchukazu he berina v'zimra, and this desire is through singing and praise, etc. Obviously, we have stories of malachim doing certain things as missions, but that's separate than avoda. A mission is a job, a shlichus. But here we're talking about avoda. There's no avoda in their service of God that's different than just desire upwards. Like even the angel that was fighting Yaakov said to Yaakov, I have to go sing. And here he explains why. That is known as the idea of a song is Shewis Alev. It's an excitement, a feeling of the heart. And he says, what does it mean? So that the Tzemach Tzedek here in the footnote says, Ki yesh nigun shel simcha. There's a type of music of happiness. V'yesh shel miriris, and there's a song of bitterness, where it's all the song of a passion of the heart, of a hispilus, of a overwhelming feeling of the heart, and therefore you're singing towards something. And
so angels have hearts and parts of like bodies, like humans?
Maybe not in the physical way.
Metaphoric.
They're made out of two of the four elements. They have Eish and Ruach, but they have the concept of it in a different way, not that we understand, obviously. Vine zuhi bechinas chitzonius, and this is all an external cycle of feeling towards godliness. Kenoides is known, Adarach Mashal's example. Mishu Aymed b'fnim beis hamelech. If you're standing in the presence of the king, inside. Who are you, and what makes it your business to start praising the king? You stand there in awe and quiet and silence. It's only when you're on the outside. Then you could start speaking, and start telling in the greatness of the king. To describe the greatness of the king and how affected you were by the greatness of the king. But a person who's standing in the presence of the king, it's not his or her business to start expressing themselves. And this is what it says, God's righteousness, we're going to praise, we're going to sing. The rina, the singing is in God's justice. Ki tzedek hi machusa kadisha. Tzedek is God's kingship, holy kingship. Like it says, moiznei tzedek, the weights of justice. Pirush yesh bechinis miznayim, there's a level of weights, meaning scales. Sheshoiklim bechinis om alchus shemaim, that judges the different levels of oil, of the yoke that we accept upon ourselves of the king. Shenimshech lechol chad v'chad lefum shir delay. Each person is given the ability of how much yoke they could accept, how much of the yoke of the king they accept. And that's the idea of the tzedek, the judgment of the kingship. Tzedek mala yiminecha, and it says judgment is full on the right side. Ki malchus chamachus kol elamim chsiv. It says God is king of all the world. She'ein erech labayri manivra. At the end of the day, you can't compare the creator to the creation. So therefore it has to go through the right side, which is chesed. All creations get their vitality from Hashem. Only through the fact that God is king. Only because God is a king over us. So he gives us in his greatness, in his gedula, in his kindness, he gives us life and vitality and continuing existence. This is why we say, God's kingship is Malchus Kol Olam. He's the king over all creations. And your rules behold over there in every generation. We explained before the difference between Malchuscha Kol Olam and behold over there, that God is king of all levels of creation. And when we say rule is more strict than kingship. In case there's a generation that doesn't accept God's yoke, nevertheless God's a ruler over us. He doesn't depend on us accepting him. Either he'll be our king or our ruler. But one way or another, we take from Hashem. And it says, Oilamim, what's Oilamim? He says, Hey Mechinas Makon. That's in space. That God is the king over all space of existence. Vidar vidar, what does it mean generation by generation? There's, of course, bechinas man is time. So time and space is all created and getting their existence from Hashem. Hakol nimshach mibechinas machuschan. This all comes from God as He's king. She'ezman v'makim, because time and space, heim nivroim u'mechudashim me'al yesh. It's itself a creation. It's not that God created in the time and space something. Time and space itself is a creation. Bereshis is the first part of creation. In the beginning, that means there's a beginning. That's a creation. Shekayim briyas ha'olam, shekayim briyas ha'olam, because before the creation of the world, there was no such concept as time and space. Not only wasn't there the existence of time and space, there wasn't the possibility for there to be time and space and creations with limitations of time and space, because time and space is a limitation. Space up until this point, time is up until this time. And through God being king, Yisbarach. He started there from creating the concept of time. Like we say, Melech, Malach Yimlech. He was a king, he is a king, and he will be a king, which is time. But the essence of God beyond him being king, he has no end, he has no definition. He's not was, is, and will be king. Because all limited creation comes from God's kingship, and from there starts the concept of time and space. Is he bechinas tzedek? That's coming from justice. The kach mali minecha comes from the right side. Bechinas yamin v'chesed, from kindness. Mechal l'chaim v'chesed, God sustains with kindness, because we wouldn't exist otherwise. It says, you give life to everything. And all creations bow to Hashem. Pirish, meaning, because you give life to everything, that therefore the recognition of creation, of God's being our source of existence and life, is the reason why we nullify ourselves and bow to Hashem to be inclusive in that source of life. And he says, what are we bowing? What are we nullifying ourselves to? The infinite, knowing that the infinite is the source of the Melech and therefore the source of our existence. That the infinite encloses itself in being a king, to give them life, and that recognition of God's contracting himself, so to say, to be our king, to allow for us to be in existence. So the more we understand that, the more that's a reality and an emes and a truth to us, the more we nullify ourselves to the essence of God. Love, because like it says, submit yourself, a love to Him, call out to Him, not to the attributes. It means you want to call out to the why of the attributes, and the why of the attributes is the Or Ein Sof, is the infinite light. And this is what it says: that we remember God's goodness, and your tzedek, the fact that God's king and gives us life, Yiranenu, we're going to sing and praise. Pirush, tuvcha, what does it mean, your goodness? That's the vitality, the life that comes from one world to the next. That's the idea of tzaddik, of righteousness, comes from goodness. The righteous person is connecting the higher worlds with the lower worlds. Like it says, that everything in heaven and earth, the achid means, the call means to unite and make one, heaven and earth. That's what good is. What's abundance of good? Is the tens of thousands of levels that have to go down in the chain from one world to the next, until God will manifest as king. So again, we're recognizing.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
These thousands of worlds or levels, how does that relate to the like 4 ladders in the 4 worlds, that if you take 4 times 10, that's 40 levels?
Yeah, so that
or maybe 50 if it's 5 worlds.
So that's a good question, but in general, the thinking is just like we say, Garden of Eden. There's the lower and higher level of Garden of Eden. Seemingly, there's two Garden of Edens: the Gan Eden Atacht and Gan Eden Elyon. But the very fact that it says Yechem L'chayil L'chayil, that people, that souls in heaven are constantly moving. You can't constantly move from point A to point B. There has to be more than point A to point B. And if you're constantly moving in thousands of years, it means there's sub levels within each level. Same thing, the sub worlds within each world. And here we're talking about beyond the four worlds. The four worlds is already the worlds of creation from the world of Atzilus. Here he's talking about thousands of worlds before there's even the world of Atzilus, so that God should manifest as king. It's what he said it before is not world the way we see it as in a world, but more world as in space of something. So it's the space, like it says King Solomon had to give 3,000 parables, mashal, right? Doesn't mean he gave 3,000 different ideas. Each parable went into the next. So in order to get from that, that's an example of Hashem taking the great wisdom, so to say, and bring it down to this world. It's like the 3,000 parables of Shlomo Melech, of King Solomon, that from one to the, it means you only hear the last example, the last mashal, parable, but in that is 3,000 deep levels until they goes back to the source of his wisdom. So that's what he means more the levels within the levels of the world. But here we're talking about worlds beyond the world. Me'olam ba'ad olam is beyond the world even of Atzilus. To become king, to give life to and vitality to all creation.
So why is it called distinct worlds, giving a number of worlds when everything was Ein Sof, which is like endless nothingness, right?
So you're right. But that's beginning of creation. The beginning of the creation is all the worlds that are created. In order for it to go, it means that's why that's in the Tzimtzum HaGadol, the great Tzimtzum contraction, and then the continuous Tzimtzumim afterwards. The Tzimtzum HaGadol is to make space for the infinite to become finite, and then even the finite itself after that Tzimtzum is not a kind of finite that can be accepted even in the higher worlds, because it's too godly, too absolute. So it has to get redefined, like the 3,000 examples of
Yeah, it seems like anything that could be countable would be finite.
Exactly, and then but even countable it takes a long time until it becomes a source of life for our existence. I mean, look at our life, look at our reality, and can imagine how we can't just go from our reality straight to godliness. We have so much needs and wants and confusion and hate and all the things that's going on in our world. How can you just go from that straight up to godliness, even to level of godliness that's a little bit above us? It takes tens and tens of levels to get something out of this whole darkness and selfishness that we live in. Now he says, "V'hine pir zecher." So that's tuvcha, Rav tuvcha, the great abundance of God's goodness to become manifest into finite in order to be a source of life for this world. And what's zecher, Rav? Zecher means to remember. It's only a ray, so to say, a memory of God's greatness. Yabiu is what gives us life, and therefore we praise. We're praising again. Singing is this is a chiddush of this Mammar. A lot of times people understand singing to be a conclusion, because you're happy, you sing, right? Look how happy this person is singing. Real singing, according to the Alter Rebbe saying here in this Mammar, singing does not come from the conclusion. It comes from the desire for there to be a conclusion. It comes from the desire for you to go back to your source. You sing from a distance. That's why he says singing is at night, darkness. Therefore we sing. Why? We have a thirst, and we have a desire to go back to our source. And the distance of that is why we're singing. Where's the place of God's covet? We don't even know what it means. We just call it the infinite. Ella, only through God being king we have some idea to know what's behind the king. So therefore we say, the fact that God is king, the tzedek, the justice that he does to create the world, is what gives us singing. But what we want to do is get beyond loy v'loy l'midaisiv. We want to get behind the attributes. It says, this is why singing is at night. Ramsha midas laila is the attribute of night. It's kingship. Again, kingship is concealment. Machus kol elamim, the God is king of all worlds. Milashin helam, the word oilamim is from the word helam, concealment.
But the word malchut is the lowest world of material reality. The melech, the king, is a king of a sovereign of Malchut, the material world.
Exactly, but behind that is a lot is who the king is, and you're right, and that and because he has to manifest into king, that's why that's a concealment. Malchus Kol Olamim. Exactly. That's how there could be a Helam. The way there can be a concealment is because the king has concealment of the essence. Is Milashin Helam Valzed Ramzu Gemara. This is what the Talmud says. We have to remember the attributes of night by day. What does that mean? The Zohar says that Kalila, we have to include day and night. Means don't accept night for what night is, the distance for what it is. The idea is to get the night back into the day. That's why there's this singing, because you're not content with the facts. You want to go beyond the facts, and that's la Kalila, to include midas laila biyom shaydeshim asigim achoyshech v'helm, because we comprehend, we understand that this is a darkness, a night. Shel Or in Seif Baruch Hu of the infinite, Yashes Chayshes Sisroi, he conceals himself in darkness. Therefore, we have a desire to get beyond the darkness. My soul yearns for you at night because of the darkness and the concealment. We say to God, you're the source of my soul. Therefore, I yearn for you. Because our source is being concealed in the level of night, the helam and concealment. And therefore, the more we recognize that, the more our desire it grows. Is to be together with God.
Darkness is it doesn't night is like a metaphor. It's not like our day and night, right? It's not just the lights are out.
The day and night of ours is a hint to the day and night of the concept. Yes. This is the same idea. You can't have a love, hey Danny, a love and a desire unless you're lacking something. That comes from this distance creates it. The nafshe hadavar shemsavi love. You can't have something that you're lacking is the reason why you have a desire to it. And that's why it says, "By lefanav, we come to God birnana with singing, because singing comes from a distance. Mimata l'mayla, and that's an avoda like the malachim. From below, from our distance, we're below, upwards towards God. Lotzei spinartik, to go out of our shell. An artik is like a wallet, an enclosement. Haguf, which the body encloses the expression of the soul, levushin nefesh bahamas, and the animal soul that the garments of the animal soul. The dafka ba'isbarach, to cleave to Hashem, my day runner through singing. I'm trying to point out, he doesn't say minartik haguf veha nefesh bahamas, but from the body and the garments of the nefesh bahamas. Why the garments of nefesh bahamas? Because the whole point is that this yearning is not just the godly soul. That we learned this before. The animal soul also has a yearning to God, but the garments that the animal soul encloses itself in, meaning its thoughts, speech, and actions, that's the garments that the animal soul traditionally encloses itself in, which are not world godly things. So the animal soul wants to unclothe itself from the clothing it expressed itself in action, speech, and thought, to also be with the godly soul, inclusive to Hashem. It's not just a feeling for the nefesh alikis. The nefesh hamas also wants it, but it has garments that is holding it in. And how is this done? Through singing. V'chinis ramshan, this happens at night. Umidas laila, the attribute of night. He bechinis shemuster meluvish bar in seif baruch hu bechinis al vester, because the infinite is concealed. Zo, and this is what it says. Baruch Shem Kavoid Machusay La'anavad V'Hafta. That when we say Baruch Shem Kavoid Machusay, the God's kingship, it's because we're expressing describing Hashem as king, and like we said, king comes from a distance. Therefore, we have to be loved, because love comes from a distance. When our heart understands that it's a ray that makes God into manifest him the way he is as king. And recognizing that this is forever, that God is our source of life. The Mate Den Kates, it goes all the way down to our world. That brings us to love Es Hashem, who are in Seif. What does Es Hashem mean? We love the name of Hashem, which is representing of the Ein Or in Seif, the infinite light. Baruch Hu Mamash, actually, that he should be, he is And it should reveal that He is our Elokim, He is our Koach, our source of life. B'chol levavchem, we should feel it in all our heart. B'chol nafshcha, in all our soul. L'dabke rucha berucha, that we should be able to consciously connect spirit with spirit. This whole experience of yearning, singing, recognizing, going upwards is going upwards, mimata l'mayel, from below above. Boy lefanov, that's what it means. Bo, to go, to come from below, lefanov, towards God. Shazai hu bernanim. What's bo lefanov bernanim? How do we come towards God? With singing. Singing again is from a distance. It's not just the avodah of the angels, the souls of the angels. This is also has to be the beginning. This is how the avodah of a person has to start with renana, with singing. Like the world was created, first came night, and then came day. First is the night, and from the night you could go to the day. And what's midas yoim? That's midas laila. So what's midas yoim? What's day? It's not enough to yearn towards God. A Jew has the ability to bring down through Torah mitzvahs from above down. To bring down, he includes all the four worlds, Atzilas, Bria, Yetzirah, Asiya, in all the four worlds, to bring godliness down into the world. And that is serving God, meaning the representation of bringing godliness down through Torah mitzvahs, and that's done through simcha. That's the difference between simcha and singing. Singing is from a distance, simcha is the accomplishment. I'm happy to be able to. That's why simcha is so important, because simcha, you're being active. Doing avoid in this world, Torah mitzvah in this world is bringing godliness down, and simcha is a sign of activity. You're happy of what you're doing, not happy what you can do. And here he says the ability to be happy, simcha, joy. That's what the souls have. The angels don't have that. The angels can only sing. They don't have the ability for simcha. The singing, like we said, is going upwards to be inclusive in Hashem. That's what the desire is from a distance. But the souls of the Jewish person, they have an additional avoda. Like we said before, the angels only have one avoda. It's the yearning towards Hashem. And what is this avoda nesefes? We're able to bring from above down. Mehelem, from concealment elagili to revealing. Shekol simcha yizkaz apnimius. What makes a person happy? What brings happiness? Revelation. Darkness brings singing, yearning. When you've accomplished something, that's happiness. Now, of course, we don't see all the gili. We don't have all the revelation today when we do a mitzvah. But the process starts every time you do a mitzvah. Every time you do a mitzvah, you're bringing down, maybe in the world of Atzilus, maybe in another world, and that already starts giving inner simcha, inner happiness. Kenoidas is known. Simcha zu, this happiness. Is our ability to bring down. Means, what does it mean to bring down God? God is in the world. He created the world. But like we said before, He created the world with concealment. Concealing Himself within the world. The purpose of that concealment is to reveal godliness in the space that's been created, called the world, the helam, in the concealment, in the concealment of the world. And how do we do that? Torah mitzvahs, because Torah mitzvahs is actually bringing the infinite of God into the space of the finite. And that brings happiness. What is the happiness? Is the ability, our ability to bring down the infinite through Torah mitzvahs. This is only given to the Jewish people, this ability. The angels, Bikshu Torah, they asked for Torah. To know, give your hod on heaven, meaning the Torah. This famous conversation between Moshe and the angels. That what is Torah mitzvahs? Torah mitzvahs is not a concealment, it's anochi, it's I. I is the absolute level of revealing of it's me, not king, not anything. Anochi, without any name. And that's what you could do through mitzvahs. Through Torah mitzvahs. Asher anochi, that's connecting to the anochi mitzav chayim. Anochi mish anochi, the I who's I. Although in the beginning we say we have to go towards God with singing. We can't go upwards without having God's tzedek justice and appreciating the what He gives us, our ability to sing, but that's singing at night. But to bring from above down. Or in God gave us the Torah. That's the roadmap. But it comes down on His own without. It means we're not empowered to do it. We're given the ability. We are the facilitators of bringing the infinite light down. And at what level of Anochi Mish Anochi, the eye of God. Because when you reach the level of Anochi, there's no darkness and light. It's all the same thing. Darkness and light are both equally a creation. God lowers Himself to see heaven and earth. Heaven representing higher levels and earth representing lower levels. Is spiritual and physical and material. Everything's equal. An angel, to us, we see an angel as something spiritual, holy. But from God's perspective, everything is a creation. What's the difference if it's a creation, a tree, a stone, a person, a house, or an angel? Everything's equal. Small or large, meaning to say, not in size, but in revelation, in spirituality. And how do we bring down the Anochi that's beyond everything? Is only through Torah mitzvahs. And who has the ability to do that? The Jewish people. That's Hadvarim Ha'ela Sha'anochi. These things, these words, these Dvarim could be both things and words. The things, the Ma'isa mitzvahs and the words of Torah. Ramach mitzvahs, the 248 positive commandments. Ramach Varm de Malka. These are the limbs of the king. The Hanikim Shalai Varm, just like a limb. Shbehem Aluvish Hanashama. Then every limb has the soul. So too in every mitzvah is the essence of God. Hold on, Sharna. And when you pull a hand, you have the life force of the hand with it. Yes?
Well, it's saying that people who are not Jewish can't do this, that they're not really fully equal with Jewish people.
In the ability to bring down our Ein Sof, that's correct. Everyone has their purpose in the creation. I'm not saying not leveling it as better or worse, but as the Torah mitzvah is only given to the Jewish people. If a non-Jew were to put on tefillin, that's not going to accomplish or light Shabbos candles or any other mitzvah tithing. Now, there's the 7 no-id commandments that are for everyone, but the actual ability to bring down the Anochi, Misha Anochi through Torah mitzvah is only through the Jewish people. And he says like this. And he says, "V'zeu ivdus Hashem," and therefore he says, v'derech klal. In general, the 248 commandments are divided into 3 types of mitzvahs. Gimel kavim, chesed, ro yamina, the actions of kindness which comes from the right side. He bechinas tzedakah, like giving tzedakah, charity. V'torah kavim memutza. Torah, the study Torah is the middle, like it says. Torah is a bechinas evarim panimium. They're the internal organs. And the other mitzvahs are not internal like Torah. V'zeu ivdus Hashem, who ein seif baruch hu nimshach oiroi milmayla lemata b'torah v'avoda. Hey, Ariel. That when you do ivdus Hashem is b'simcha. How do you do ivdus Hashem? How do you serve God as a simcha? Because then you're bringing down the Torah mitzvahs through Torah mitzvahs, bringing down the infinite light. It's b'simcha, simcha shal mitzvah, the ability to do a mitzvah. So too applies when studying the law. And why are you happy? Because of revelation, not because of concealment, opposite of singing. Be able to bring it down on our soul and in our space of the world. And so what the Alter Rebbe is saying is an amazing thing. That traditionally, if you read the verse in chapter 100, it says, Ivdus Hashem b'simcha, serve God with happiness. But the fun of come before him with singing. He's saying no. He's saying it's a conversation. How? What gives you the ability to do Ivdus Hashem b'simcha, to serve God with simcha, through the simcha of mitzvah, of bringing down godliness through the performance of mitzvah, is because you came first towards him with singing. That's what he's saying over this way. And how do we get that? Because we sang from a distance, so it goes full cycle, and that's Rasa V'Shayv. We have a yearning towards God's V'Shayv, and bring down through Torah mitzvahs. That has to happen first. The Torah is telling us from above down that Ivdus Hashem b'simcha, you have to accomplish. What is your job as a Jew? Is to serve God with happiness through Torah mitzvahs. And how are you going to get to that? What enables you to have the ability to do Ivdus Hashem b'simcha is when you start off The fun of Bernana through singing. You have to start off with your own efforts to go towards God, and so to say take that gift and properly bring it down through the mitzvahs.
Well, when Jacob saw the angels going up and down the ladder, that's like Ratzov Veshuv. It's
Yes.
like the different levels also, but they weren't doing mitzvahs.
No, but that they weren't. But he saw the concept of it. That's a symbolization of the concept. Means what was technically happening was the angels going, the different levels of angels, the angels of Eretz Yisrael leaving, the angels of Chutz La'aretz coming. But you're able to see that the ladder is a two-way idea. And that's the idea. That was the symbol of the mitzvahs, of the avodah of a person has to be two. Like he said, the angels have one avodah, which is going towards Hashem. But the ladder really is the idea is to go climb up so you could climb back, so you could bring back down. So what's that? So that now we understand what Rani V'Simchi is. Why are we singing? Because we're yearning towards God. Why are we happy? Is our ability to do Torah mitzvahs. What's daughter of Zion? He says this is an amazing. What the Alter Rebbe is getting to is an amazing idea because the original question was, "What's this have to do with Hanukkah?" It's an amazing concept. It's like this: while we're in exile, we're not Zion, we're not Zion, we're Bas Zion, the daughter of Zion. What's that mean? We're being in Zion. So we have to first, if you want to know what the daughter of Zion is, you have to know what Zion is, right? So beer in Zion, what is Zion? Is behegdim lavim mashakasev is we have to understand what it says. Yimlach Hashem le'olam, God will be king forever. Al kayach Zion, God of Zion, l'davar dar for generations. Hallelujah, we're going to praise him. Obir, what does this mean? Kiliyos yimlach Hashem le'olam, because God is king forever. B'chinas makim in space, l'davar dar, and in time. B'chinas man, hanu aidei b'chinas Zion. How do we reveal God's being kingship? What motivates God to be king is the level of Zion. Ki nichsiv, it says. God's image and form. What does that mean? The 248 limbs is like we said before, the 248 limbs of the king. This is all the way the mitzvahs and Torah in the spiritual sense. That's the image of God, is that the ability is all the components of how he's brought down through Torah mitzvahs in the world. But that's the spiritual of the mitzvah. Meaning to say, when you shake a lulav and esrog, when you light Shabbos candles, when you put on film, when you put on tzitzis, whatever the mitzvah is that you're doing, eating kosher, you're avoiding not eating non-kosher, whatever it is that you're the positive or negative commandment, that's a spiritual concept. But it will only come down if there's a physical. That's the condition. You can't think about tefillin and bring down the godly levels of tefillin through thinking about tefillin. You actually physically have to put on. You have to physically light Shabbos candle, physically make chaladon. Achgashmis ha-mitzvah is the physicality of the mitzvah. And they're connected to physicality, like tzitzis has to be made out of a certain material. Semer, for instance, like wool. Tefillin is made out of cloth, out of parchment. Those are only a sign. Means to say, there's the physicality of the mitzvah is a sign to what's really behind the mitzvah, the spirituality. Like a sign is a siman. This is a sign to something. The lashon simon, sion is from the word siman. Kamai sion hamitzuyenes, a sign that is indicating. The Hanusha mitzvah, sagashmis, the physicality of the mitzvah, is heim roimzim, is a hint, laharuchnish b'hem, what's inside of that mitzvah, the spirituality. When you're putting on tefillin or doing a mitzvah, you're not connecting to the wool. It's a symbol of what's the spirituality that's only connected to that mitzvah. And that means each mitzvah has its own sign. And through that physical, the sign brings down the spiritual into the world. You want to have the idea of oiter or kasama, the encompassing light, oiter or kasama, like a clothing that's clothing you. That's represented by the talis and the tzitzis. The idea of the white hair of God is the tzitzis. Cyrus is like hair. All the different mitzvahs represent something. There's the physicality of the representation of the spiritual concepts. So too when one studies Torah. When you study the physical law, some of the laws seem very mundane, right? If especially laws being adam lechaveiroi, neighbor laws, like these are regular laws. Who owns a joint fence? Who has to pay for a fence that falls down? Right? The Torah discusses these issues. Go to open up Baba Basra. All the laws seem to be mundane physical laws. But from there, is really these deep ideas that are spiritual. Like in the mitzvah, it's the wool of the tzitzis represents a spiritual concept. The mundane of the mitzvah of the law also represents something much more spiritual. That it comes down in physical, but it's really hinting to something spiritual. Therefore, when one studies the Torah and performs the mitzvahs, these are signs to what's spiritually behind it, not a sign from a distance. A sign of what actually is and what's happening. When you perform the mitzvah, study the Torah, you're bringing down that spiritual that had no way to come down to this physical world if not for the physicality of the mitzvah. You cannot, there is no way. Tefillin on the shelf, someone says, I have tefillin at home. That's beautiful. If you don't put them on, they don't mean anything. It's a holy article. It's not a mitzvah. And that allows for the infinite that's beyond space and time to come into space and time. A mitzvah has to be done at a certain time. Certain mitzvahs are time sensitive. Certain mitzvahs are place sensitive. And that's why we do brachas. Why do we make a blessing before we perform a mitzvah? Baruch ata. Because we're blessing. Baruch means to bring down. Ki baruch miloshin hamavriach hagefen. It's like when a person grafts the vine into the ground to give it energy. You put the head of the top of the vine, the aretz into the earth. Comes another vine. That's the idea of bringing from one world, from spiritual, into the physical.
That's does the person doing the thing have to have the understand that and have the intent to do that?
No, that's the beauty about it. That's the beauty of a mitzvah. It's better to have kavanas. Mitzvahs, shrichas kavanas. Mitzvahs have to have kavana, but it's not dependent on that. The Alter Rebbe always talks about that. That a person could sit there thinking all the kavanot, all the intentions of a mitzvah, what you can do with a mitzvah. And if you don't do the mitzvah, you've accomplished nothing. And if you do the mitzvah without intentions, you've accomplished, although it's not done perfectly. That's the whole beauty of a mitzvah. That's to bring down from one world to the next. Therefore, when it comes to Yosef, it says, we learned in this week's parsha, fun of Avrich, they called him young man. But the word Avrich is also the word bracha. Because the Fisha Tzaddik, because he was righteous, they were hinting to.
Well, that's what the Egyptians called Joseph, Avrech yes. Or something like that.
Yes, that's what they're saying. That's what he's quoting. Fun of Avrich, they called him Avrich. The Fisha, why? So they were hinting at subconsciously, so Tzaddik Makashi, he's a righteous person that connects. That's what a Tzaddik has to do. Umashpia, and to give down. That's what Yosef was the big mashpia. Umavriach ma'al vadel, he's bringing from one world to the next. V'inyan brachazu, and this idea of bringing a blessing, we're blessing to symbolize what we're doing with the mitzvah. Is to bring from spiritual to physical. What's the point? To reveal God's kingship in the world. That the world, the helam of the world, should connect to its source of the king. The world should see the God's kingship, God's rule over the world. No longer should the world be a concealment on the kingship of Hashem. Because how do we symbolize this and how do we start this process? Is by saying Baruch, by making a blessing. That the level of godliness that's beyond Elokim should be our reality. And then should grow something out of that. Like when a person grafts the vine, something grows out, the next new fresh vine grows out. So when we do everything right, again, we still didn't get to what's Bas Zion. What's the daughter of Zion? This is all Zion. So when we do everything right, this is our avoda, so then we're called Zion because we're the people that are actualizing the sign of godliness in the world. V'simin la'or haruchni, because this is the sign to the spiritual light, hanishba, that's being brought, v'nimshach, into the world. Ava b'galas, that's all the way things should be. What happens in the time of exile? Nikra Bas Zion. Then we're not called Zion, we're called the daughter of Zion. Shirak b'chinas mekal b'chinas Zion. What does it mean, Bas Zion? We are receiving the benefits of our mother, so to say, Zion. Kenoida b'zohar, meaning ish mazriya tchila, yeled zachar. That if a person, the masculine, is going to, his seed comes out first, is going to be the female. If you don't awaken an avoda. You didn't do anything. You're not being a tzion. So then you're only a makabel. You're only taking in. You're only benefiting, but you haven't worked for it. Mashenkin ol tzion. For when it comes to Zion, it says ish. You should be a mashpia. You have to be as a tzion, to be a sign. You have to be doing something. Isha mazreis tchila yilad zachar. But if the woman is the seed goes first, and then it comes the masculine. Bechinas chasadim, giving. Hainu behegdim bechinas rina v'simcha kanal. When you do avoda first, with rina, with singing and joy in the mitzvah, when you did avoda through singing first, the yearning towards Hashem, so then you have the proper cycle of Zion. Then you're bringing down the mitzvah through simcha. And that's why when we want to daven, how do we daven? We start off with Sukkah de Zimra. We start singing the songs of praising God. The Hagdim Shvicha Shemakim. Before we want to start bringing something down, we have to start going upwards towards to praise Hashem. We have to be awake. We can't just start saying Shema. We have to be feeling. We talk about the Kedushas HaMelachim, the angels. We describe the passion of the angels. This is all elevating Bo'al Lefana Birnana. Bechinas Rina, singing. Let's say it's minartek guf. We want to go out of our body and the garments of the animal soul, like we said, it's the garments of the animal soul. And afterwards, we're able to have proper joy and happiness. When we say the Shema, we're starting to bring downwards. We have to what happens if a person doesn't sing first? You didn't do your avodah first. As I like Tishkan Gila Simcha, then how are you supposed to have happiness? You didn't do any avoda here. Raki Bechinas Nekeva, Mekabim, you're only receiving. You're doing a mitzvah, like you asked before, Shan. Ram said do a mitzvah without any avoda. Okay, you did it, but you're just a makabel, you're bastion. Because yes, every mitzvah you do, you're going to bring down the infinite. But it's a bastion. It's not sion. For my sake, I'm going to do it. So when you do a mitzvah, I'm going to come down with the Or and Seif is going to come down, but not in the same way. Then it can only be external. But when you come properly towards Hashem through singing, you want to have an inner relationship with God. That you have to start with singing, and then you could have the simcha b'pnimiyas, not just the external mitzvah. So a person may think, so what am I going to do? I'm not singing. I can't sing. I don't find the words. I don't find the tune. Here the Jew, Zechariah comes. Zechariah was a prophet in the time of the exile. He comes and prophesying about the time of the exile. He comes to console the Jewish people. Even in the time of exile. Shnikras bas Zion, that you're only the daughter of Zion. Veloit Zion, you're not Zion itself. Sha'afa piken, you're only v'simcha. You can still be happy. I'm coming. What does that mean? There's a kind of awakening from above that's so great. It's not just an external, because lamani, I'm doing it for my sake. There's a level of an awakening from above that doesn't at all depend on our avoda. It's level of encompassing light. And then the daughter, which traditionally is only a bastia, and she gets such a light it's as if there's no difference, or even greater. And when's that going to happen? The prophet tells us that's going to come in the days of Mashiach. It says, Hine Yask Avdi, Yarm Venisa V'Gava Me'oid, the greatness. V'Nochel of Ruach Hashem, is going to be the Spirit of God. V'Arecha in Zmir, smell of godliness. And he's able to smell the righteousness. But every man is going to be a mashpia, every person. Even the daughter is going to be able to be a mashpia because we're getting such a level of revelation. Why? The place that's going to be rested down this world is going to come from a great source of light. I'm coming, I'm going to rest amongst you. Even though you're at the level of Bas, even though you can't find the music to sing. Hashem saying, I myself is going to come. Orion Seif Baruch Hu Mamish, the infinite light. And that's symbolized in the Chanukah menorah. That's why the Chanukah, Shetiknu Pesach Ba'is B'chutz. Why do we take the light of the Chanukah? Unlike the menorah, we take it outside the house. The door is open the gates of righteousness. The gates of righteousness is the place, the Mavai, the entry, where a person could sing towards God. Like we said before, sing towards the tzedek. That's where a person is supposed to sing the praises of God. That's if I'm standing inside and I open the door. But what happens if I'm already outside? I'm in the dark, there's no door for me. I can't sing, I have no entry point. I have no song, I have no awakening of the heart. My heart is feeling dead inside me. So a person may think, so what could I do? If the whole thing, if I have to start Baal Lefanav first, and then you have this Hashem B'Simcha. So the Navi says, don't be lost, don't be miyuyish, don't give up. Gili or in Saif, Baruchu al Nafshay, don't give up on the possibility to have the revelation of the infinite light, even if you have no music to sing, you have no spileless live, no passion of the heart. That's why the menorah goes outside, to take the light outside, to the person who's outside, who has no music, has no excitement. Even if you're outside the door. The light symbolized in the light of the menorah, the infinite light of Hashem goes there as well. Don't worry, every time you do a mitzvah, even if you have no feeling to the mitzvah, no kavanah to the mitzvah, no passion to the mitzvah, you should know the light is there in every mitzvah that you do, and every time you study Torah, even if there's no excitement there. Not only that, the Alter Rebbe says, initially, the rabbis instituted, not just any door, but the door that goes furthest out to the public domain, means your front door. Outside to the public. Makim HaKlipa is the place with all possibilities of darkness, of klipa. So we should transform, not just to be there, but we should have an effect, darkness and to light. All the nations will come in the times of Mashiach, which is represented by the menorah, which represents the times of Mashiach, together speedily in our time. We thank you all for joining tonight, and enjoy the rest of your Hanukkah. Laila Tov.
Thank you, Rabbi.